All right, guys. Nolar here, aka Nanolar, and I'm joined by the speedster himself, the homie Goresh, and Toon. I'm not going to say much about Toon. He's just sad right now. He's still sad.
Yeah. Why you gotta bring that up? I wasn't gonna go there. Why you gotta bring that up?
Well, if you guys don't understand what I'm referring to, I'll put in the link below. We did a race. That's all I need to say. Just watch that, and you'll understand the context.
Go watch part 3.
Yeah, go. So in order, go watch the Goresh part, and then the rest of ours, because that's the one that is the most relevant in terms of what I described everyone here as.
I didn't come here to be disrespected.
Dude, the comments have been.
I mean, people were loving it. People were loving it, but good God, man.
I think I got one that said, most people have to be married to suffer this kind of abuse. Toon just got.
You sent me that.
So, anyways, we're not here to talk about that. This is going to be another roundtable discussion. Obviously, this will be a little bit different, as you can see from the whole setup of the thing that's going on here. And it's going to be like a smoke table, if that's a good reference for any of you who know what I'm talking about. But we're going to be talking about the transformation mechanic. And the reason I brought this up is because I've had some interesting feelings about it. And given how the state of Dokkan is now, it has significantly changed from when it was first introduced. So again, let's give a little background history. When did you first start playing the game, Goresh?
Back during the first year anniversary, so way before that mechanic existed.
Okay, yeah. And Toon, what about yourself?
I started at the end of the 250 million downloads. So, I think that was when the transforming Goku and Frieza first hit Dokkan.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's right when I started.
Okay, so the reason why I would give you a little context is so Goresh and I, we've been playing since around the first year. I was a little bit before that, but we've had this build up to this transformation mechanic, and Toon here is going to have a different outlook because he basically started when it existed. So, it's a differing opinion. So, just to give you more history, the third year was the first time we ever had the transformation mechanic. That was with LR Gogeta, the physical one, and the LR Vegeta, which is the int one. It was okay. We'll briefly talk about the third year because that came out of nowhere. Because as you guys know, with anniversaries or big celebrations, they do like the countdown celebration. So the countdown for the third year was strictly all like Namek Goku. It was Namek Saga. They were just pointing it to that. You had Ginyu forces. You had like Kid Gohan and Krillin. Vegeta and at that time. So like we all thought, okay, it's going to be some kind of Frieza and Goku. But I think the internet broke because when it was leaked that it was Gogeta and Vegeta, it was like insane. And I think before that, we were talking like, well, wouldn't it be cool if we got a Vegito base form that transformed into Super Vegito, and then same thing with Gogeta. Like we were all theorizing this in the second to third year, like in between the second and third year, because we thought it would be a really cool way to, have a new mechanic in the game. And bang, they dropped that, and it just showed up out of nowhere. So I remember when the leaks happened, we were all freaking out, like, what the hell just happened? Like, I can't believe this is coming. I don't remember Gogeta in the Namek Saga, and I don't remember Vegito in the Namek Saga either. But here it is. So, anyways, to briefly talk about that, it was the first time they did it, and it was 6 turns, and you had to be below 50% HP. And again, it was the first time we ever saw transformation mechanics, so it was a little weird. We didn't have any like frame of reference to determine if this was good or bad, right? So, Goresh, you remember third year pretty well, I assume. What did you think of it when it first dropped?
Well, I was surprised that it was actually Vegeta and Gogeta. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the biggest complaint that we saw coming out of that was just it was like impossible to get the transformation, because that was back during a time where the legendary Goku event and stuff like that, Infinite Dragon Ball history, those longer events didn't exist yet. So it really was almost impossible. Even if you had like a mediocre account, it was very tough to actually see the transformation. Like you had to kind of go out of your way to see it. And people, I think obviously the units were very cool, but I think people were just very disappointed with the conditions. And to me, it seemed like a strange way to introduce the mechanic, just due to the fact that take a look at how they introduced active skills. They're on units that literally just get it, like turn 4.
Yep.
And that's it. Very probably the easiest conditions, one of the easiest set of conditions in the game. So to me, it does feel like it's sort of like a bait and switch, where the Goku and Frieza probably were supposed to be for the anniversary, but they ended up switching them for whatever reason. So that's what I think.
I got a question for that. Back when this first dropped, when you were able to actually get them to transform, was it so groundbreaking and meta shattering that whatever came at you, it was instant game over? Or was it still a pretty competitive? Yeah. Okay, so no. I mean, in hindsight, it kind of seems like that might have been why they made it so restrictive, right? Because at the time, there just wasn't really any event that could hold up to it. Like they would just run through everything, right?
Well, yeah, but there wasn't anything that was like bulky enough to withstand taking that much punishment for 6 turns.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because even these units pre-transform were the best units in the game.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right. Yeah. Then they're totally unnecessary. And what's the point even? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, Goresh, we're skipping up a little bit ahead to the 250, and that's where Toon came in to the game. But I felt like those transforming units of Goku and Frieza should have been for the anniversary, and then at some point they would have dropped the Vegeta. But I think they were thinking about money, and pretty sure Vegeta make more money than Goku and Frieza from the Namek Saga. So
it could have been 2 things too. Like it could have been that, I think it's pretty likely, or it could have been the fact that they were thinking ahead to the next year's download celebration, and they were like, okay, we kind of want to make these download celebrations reflect the sagas, or the end of the sagas, the main sagas, because now we're in the Buu Saga.
Oh, that's true.
Last year we had Cell, and then obviously the year before that we had Goku and Frieza. But Goku and Frieza was a little bit weird because they weren't actually from Namek, but maybe that's what they were going for.
And then also maybe there's another way to look at this. If you start, it's kind of like editing a video. If you put all your eggs in one basket and make the video the crazy, like the first installment of a series, let's say you make that the most high budgeted, high end production you've ever made, the next installment of that video, you've got a pretty high bar to match, right? So it's going to be that much harder to impress the folks with the next new video. So in that same vein, maybe this whole thing was like, let's start with a pretty far out restriction condition, and then slowly move it forward subsequently in future celebrations. So that way we can use this same blueprint and make future units more and more appealing, because now the selling point would be, oh, you know what? This is like that Gogeta guy, except it's going to be even easier to summon, to transform. What did I say? Summon. Yeah. So maybe that's another reason. I'm sorry, I've been playing Casey Cup. That's another reason why maybe they started off with 6. Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. The other thing too, I think, to expand on your point, was that let's say they initially had Goku and Frieza, the transforming ones, be for the 3rd year, then I think the expectation from then on out would have been, oh, they would have transformed the next turn. Because we'll skip ahead a little bit and say, 250, which was at least for JP 5-6 months later. With Global, they just had 3rd year. Then right afterwards, like the next month, it was 250. It was transforming Goku and Frieza, where every turn they transformed from Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, God, Blue. And then for Frieza, it's first form, second form, third form, fourth form, finally into golden form. I think if they started off like that, then the expectation would have been, the next transforming units, when they come out, the next turn they're going to transform. When clearly that's not the case. So it might have been like what you're saying, to reinforce your point, is to set the bar low enough that whatever units they kept bringing out, they're like, oh yeah, that's better than the last one. It's better than the last one. So that could also be the reason why Goresh, they switched it. They're like, oh well, let's just set the bar low, where they will have any expectations of how this is going to work, and then we'll just keep going from then on and improve upon it. But since we just jumped right to okay, go ahead, go finish your thought.
I was just going to say, they also really didn't have to make the conditions anything, because people would summon no matter what.
Yeah.
Like they could have made the conditions 50 turns, people still would have summoned.
They were the best. Well, they were the very first LR Dokkan Fest units ever in the game. So that unto itself is just uber hype because we had summonable LRs, but they weren't Dokkan Fest exclusive, which we all knew what that meant. We're like, we don't know when they're going to come back. And of course, now we have a certain cadence to their releases, but at the time, everyone went deep because we had no clue when they would ever come back. Yeah, so third year, anything else to wrap up before we move on to 250 and the different type of transformation?
No, I think we covered it.
Nothing for me. I didn't exist back then.
Yeah. Okay, so with 250, like I mentioned, they wanted to bring out Goku and Frieza, who transformed every turn into the next form. And in the beginning, I thought that was kind of cool. But as time has gone on, I hate this kind of mechanic, period. I just, like, it makes sense why they want to do this. It's just not what I want at all, given the meta of the game now. I mean, I don't see these guys. They're on every damn banner, right? Like, Goku's on every banner. Frieza, when there's an extreme unit showcase, he's on that banner at some point.
I sense some contempt in that statement.
I don't know, Goresh. What do you think? Transforming Goku. He's on.
He's been on like what, 17 banners or something since he came out.
I don't know.
It actually might be that much. Like, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah, and to the guys who say, "Oh, well, I've never pulled him, and he's been on that many banners." Well, you must not save your stones. Then you must pull on every banner. So, because if you even remotely have like 300, 400 stones on a banner that is good, he's featured on it, then you would have pulled him. So,
if you don't have one copy of him and you've been playing since he's released, you must summon on every banner that he's not on.
Yeah, that's another point too. So, anyway, so just to reinforce it, I don't like this mechanic because it felt really well. One, there's a transformation every turn, and it's not even that good looking until like the last time when they go blue and golden form. But two, they just get slightly better. Like, there's no difference in the way they operate at all. So it's just like 20% damage reduction to 21% damage reduction to 20. It's just like, it doesn't really mean anything. There's no meaningful change, which is the whole point of the transformation. At least when I thought of the mechanic initially, that it would be, you would play a certain way or the unit would do a certain thing and then they transform and it would be completely different. So yeah, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on the transforming Goku and Frieza?
I think I had a very different experience with that because that was when I started playing Dokkan. I still remember one of my first 6 units, like when I completed my first ever SSR team, he was like the second or third unit I ever pulled in the game. And I actually honestly love the transforming units because of the experience that it gave me back in the day, because it gave me this like escalating tension sort of vibe as I was jumping into combat. Like as the situation got more and more dire, quote unquote, the transformation got more and more powerful. It just gave me this feeling like, all right, I have a certain pace to maintain. So typically this Dokkan event will take me to Super Saiyan 3. This Dokkan event will take me to Super Saiyan Blue. It kind of gave me a different way to look at how difficult an event is based on how many transformations my Goku or Frieza has to go. I honestly loved the experience of it. Now looking back, obviously the unit has aged a little bit. And yeah, when the unit is transforming, it's essentially the same thing until the very end when it's at the pinnacle form, where there's a little variation. But honestly, I think it's aged as well as it could have given what it provided to the game. But I liked it. My overall experience was very positive with the transforming Goku Frieza.
All right.
For me, that to this day is probably my most anticipated dual Dokkan Fest of all time, or even just regular Dokkan Fest of all time. Because I was always wanting a Frieza who transformed through all the forms and stuff. And I think transformation wise, like that is like aesthetically like my favorite unit in the game still. Mm-hmm. The one thing that really brought it down for me a lot though were the super attack animations, because they just reuse like SR super attacks.
Recycle them. Yeah.
And that was pretty bad.
They kind of stepped in the right direction with the Vegeta a little bit, but in the end it was essentially the same again.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways they can improve these units a lot. The first one is to obviously just make better super attacks for all the forms, because that's like what the whole game is at this point. And the second thing is, instead of making, to your point about them just being basically the same unit every single time they transform, they kind of has to be that way because they're normal they're automatic transformations. Like because you don't have discretion over whether you want a unit to be like, okay,
right. Yeah,
I want him to stay in this form because he's doing X or Y, stuff like that. So my other way of improving those types of units, the multi-transformation units, would be make every single transformation an active skill. And that way you can make every form do something different. So let's say you get to third form Frieza and he is like a mega tank or something, and you really want a mega tank for what you're doing right now. You can just leave him in third form. Or let's say you want a mega damage dealer, and final form is a mega damage dealing unit. You can just transform him to final form and then not transform him past that. Or a support unit, maybe second form is a support type. Like that kind of versatility, I think, could really make these kinds of units a lot more powerful and interesting. So that's what I want to see.
Yeah, that was actually something that I had been considering as well. Also, from a convenience standpoint, as far as a game development would go, I don't know if this really works, but being able to revert forms depending on the unit, like certain units that don't have permanent transformations, like if Goku goes Super Saiyan, that means he knows how to revert back to regular form. So if he can go from like Super Saiyan God down to Super Saiyan 2 or Super Saiyan 3 or something like that, based on whatever that passive provides in that form, I would like to be able to do that, because not only does it kind of fit the show, the narrative of the show, like you can go to whatever form you want and revert back, but it also just adds more strategy to whatever you're doing.
No, I agree with you guys. And we can expand on that a little bit towards the end, where we want to see the transformation mechanic improve, but those are good ideas nonetheless. Yeah. Okay. So let me talk on Vegeta, because Vegeta basically was designed around the same time as these guys were, right? But he was released Saiyan Day, I want to say.
Saiyan Day. Mm-hmm.
So it was like much later down the line, because it was 250 was August of 17, 18, whatever year that was. And then
2018, yeah.
2018. And then May or March of 2019 is when we got Transforming Vegeta. I mean, like Toon said, they kind of improved a little bit on the animations, but overall he was still the same functional unit like these guys were. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, thoughts on Vegeta itself, or not much to say about him?
I'm just butthurt that Vegeta didn't have a Super Saiyan 3. I know why, because it's not canonically accurate, but I'm a Vegeta fanboy, and I was kind of butthurt that they wouldn't put Super Saiyan 3 in there. Instead, they went Vegeta, Super Vegeta, and then Super Saiyan 2. That's my only complaint, aside from everything else we talked about.
Yeah.
The one thing I liked about Vegeta was they gave him like something super unique, which is to change all the spheres.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah.
But you have to obviously get to the final form, which is like never going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, he's still the best.
Of course you can. Nowadays, you can totally go there.
Yeah, but it has to be. My problem is it's only in like one specific type of event, right?
Oh, like yeah. Okay, like that.
Yeah. Alrighty, so okay, we're gonna backtrack a little bit, because 250 was when we all celebrated together, and that's when we had third year for Global in July 2018, and then right after was 250. But for JP, our anniversary is in February, and then right after February we had transformation units that were a little bit different, operating from the Gogeta and the Vegito, because they were chances to transform. So I'm talking about Super Saiyan Blue Evolution Vegeta. Well, he starts off as Super Saiyan Blue, and then has a 30% chance from the fourth turn to be Evolution Vegeta. And then Turles, who below 80% after 3 turns has a 25% chance to transform. Now, here's where I think they started getting a little bit of backlash, and this is where I started to feel like I didn't summon for, just Blue Vegeta. I want Evolution Blue Vegeta. So this is where my feelings of the transformation kind of started to change. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool, but I don't want a chance. I want to guarantee myself a opportunity to use the end game unit that I summoned for, and I want to play with. So the whole like 30% chance or 25% chance, it left a bad taste in my mouth. And especially in Turles' case, where I think this is where they got the backlash and had the concept of active skills implemented later, because he functions completely differently, pre-transformed and post-transformed, right? So pre-transformed means one of the best support units. Actually, when he came out, he was like on teams where he doesn't even fit, because he still gave that 3 key, was it 40% attack, and was the best like support for the entire team, even though he had no boost whatsoever. It didn't matter. The other units, he was supporting them so much that people were like, yeah, he's the optimal unit to bring, yada, yada, yada. But he's a support unit before transformation, and then post-transformation, he's a hard hitter. Now, for the most part, you probably just want to float him and bring him as a support. And then when he does transform, even though it's 25% chance, when he does, everyone gets so bad.
I've always hated his transformation. Even day one, I hated his transformation because this is the problem. You can't have a chance to you can't have a probabilistic transformation on a unit that is going to be fulfilling a different role after transforming, because first, even if you wanted to use him as a hard hitter, you wouldn't even be able to guarantee that transformation. So you feasibly can't bring him on your team expecting him to be a hard hitter. So that's why he's always relegated to being a support unit. So when he does transform into a hard hitter, you're like, what the hell? And that's why everybody's always so mad.
Yeah.
So the design is literally flawed.
Yeah. Toon, any thoughts?
I mean, the only thing that balances this out is the fact that the percentage is so low, so it doesn't happen as often. But I mean, I totally agree. I don't really have much more to say. He's meant to support. That's what you're going to be dealing with most of the time. And when he changes using Fruit of the Loom or whatever the hell he eats, I forget what it's called every single time. It just throws a huge giant wrench into your plans and whatever you're trying to do. So the fact that the chance is so low, I guess, is the one saving grace, ironically, about this whole transformation. But in general, it's like one of the most forgettable things that they've had added in Dokkan. So yeah, I just agree. What is that thing called?
Fruit of the Tree of Might.
Fruit of the Tree of Might, for real? I'd rather say Fruit of the Loom.
What they should have done is they should have kept his supporting abilities post transformation, but then made him less of a hard hitter. That's it.
Yeah. And even then, when he transforms, he's not that much of a hard. I mean, at the time, yes, but now he's aged enough where it's
the trade-off just is not worth it.
Yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
The best part about transforming is the heal. That's it. Like, I don't even care about the damage.
Yeah. But even then, how much of a heal is it? It's not much, right?
Like 15.
Let me check.
It's like 15. Yeah. Hang on. Let me
15%. Yeah.
15%. That's really not much of a heal.
Yeah.
Especially nowadays with all stackers and how much you can pick up from the orbs once your defensive rating is high enough. Like that doesn't amount to much in today's meta.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the two notable ones, at least for JP post third year, that I wanted to mention. There's another one that, I mean, even I forgot until I saw the list. Android 21. She has a chance to transform. It's only 30%, starting from the fourth turn, above 50% HP. I mean, she's fine. It was okay. I mean, it was just kind of going along at the time. And that's where, again, I like the idea of the transformation mechanic. I just didn't like the execution of it at this point, because I didn't summon just to get the base form 21. I want the evil one, the one that does the most damage. And you're telling me I might wait. It might be turn 4 till I see it, or it might be turn 20 if it lasts that long. Wasn't a fan of that. But then they started going to this other, kind of like El Gogeta and Vegeta, where it was a turn restriction and HP restriction. If I remember correctly, we were talking like Super Boo, and I think he's like, it's criminal that he is what he is now. I mean, had he come out today, I can imagine a very different way to utilize his kit, because I actually think it's a very unique kit where it's like based on your HP threshold, you're transforming to certain, Boo Piccolo, Boo Tanks, or Buhan. But the problem is it's always at the 5th turn, right? So, and generally speaking, you put him on like Boo teams, especially now with the Link update, you're never going to really dip below 80% HP. So you're pretty much only ever seeing Buhan.
Yep.
Which is fine because, given when we're recording this, we just had the release of Ella Boo Tanks who transforms to Buhan. So like they link very well together. But when he first came out, one, he wasn't a very good Dokkan Fest unit. I think his numbers and kit were just a little low. But then on top of that, the whole, starting from the 5th turn, depending on your HP, you're transforming into one of these. Thoughts on Super Boo, that transforming piece of, according to Toon.
I mean, you love him so much. Why don't you start?
Okay, I'll start. What do I have to say about that? I think he's great. No, yeah, like you were saying, it's very unique, and I like it in the sense that the way I like to look at it is when your health is above 80, you're dominating the fight so much that you are in a sense Buhan. Buhan dominated the the Z fighters until Vegeta showed up, and then as the interval, as you go down to the middle tier, you're kind of like in the middle of the fight. So that's Bootanks, where that's where Super Buu was in the middle of the pack with Bootanks, and then when you're really close to death, you're about to die. You fall back to Bukulo when his fusion ran out and he reverted back. So I like the approach; it's unique. But now, especially with the whole link leveling thing, using two of these mechanics is now basically almost impossible. So I understand how this doesn't age well, but honestly, like I don't mind this because again, kind of in the ordering that we're talking about these units, it kind of speaks to how the game is evolving. Because with the changes that they've made, they're trying different things, trying to implement newer mechanics to make these units more unique. Add some more of the canon into the unit itself. So I like their approach. The execution may not always be there, but I like the approach. I like the ideas. And over time, the only thing is that they have to figure out ways to bring these units into the fold because, like you mentioned, with Lynx, that effectively eliminates Bukulo. Maybe Bootanks is a possibility if you're really bad or not fully leveled up on Lynx. So Bootanks is probably more likely. But yeah, things like that. And the Royal Blue Vegeta, Android 21, I think at some point they need to really take some time to bring those guys into the fold. I don't know if it can be done via an EZA. That might be too steep a boost, but they got to do something to bring these units into relevancy as far as utilizing their mechanics fully, 100%.
If I'm not wrong, we've never gotten an EZA for a transforming unit. Am I right?
Not yet.
Yeah, so it's possible they could do that.
They could, but I mean, what is that? What would that would just open up a massive can of worms because
that's fine.
EZAing one of these guys. I don't know if the meta's ready for that. Not yet.
Oh, it's not. I mean, we're not gonna see an EZA for these guys in a long time. For a long time, we're not even like 10% done with the 120 leads.
Wait, where are you guys right now on JP?
Just Android.
You just 17. Got 17, right? So it's just
Broly.
17 and Broly.
16, Broly. That's it. So 10%. 10%.
Yeah. So we got a long way to go. But yeah, I mean, these issues will surely be figured out later on. Honestly, looking back at this now, like I'm looking at the Dokkan wiki, just seeing all the transformations. It's kind of just an ode to the history of Dokkan and how they've sort of evolved over time. I kind of like it. This is a fun little nostalgia trip, even though I wasn't there for like 90% of it.
All right, Goresh, your thoughts on Super Buu?
I don't think it's as badly designed as Turles, just because of the fact that you have more control over taking damage, right, than you do just of a chance of something happening. So like if you're like, okay, I really want to try and get Buu Piccolo this turn, so I'm going to put this guy in harm's way of getting a super attack, or let's say you're getting attacked by an STR unit like 5 times in slot 1. You just go, okay, I'm going to put this physical unit in the first slot because I want to get low on health so that I can transform. It's still not perfect though, because again, every form is doing something different. So yeah, I get that it's like, you want certain forms for the amount of health that you're at, but it's just like, that doesn't really affect like what I'm going to want at turn 7 or turn 8 when this is turn 1. So I don't know. I feel like instead of it being health based, I wish it was just how much damage you sustained until that turn he transforms. So if you sustained over X amount of damage or whatever, then you would transform into this form, not based on your health. Or if you sustained up until that point, let's say he transforms turn 5. If you sustained in total over 80% of your health in damage, then he's going to transform into this form or something. Just so that you don't have to constantly try and stay below a certain health point.
Right.
Here's a fun thought. Why not include an additional transformation? Because the objective here is to survive. And depending on which form you assume, you're going to gain that whatever passive that, entails. So like, for example, if you're desperate for health and defense, you're going to jump down to Bukulo and you're going to be recovering 15% HP per turn, raising your defense. Maybe after a certain number of turns, you have the opportunity to transform again if you reach a certain threshold after a couple of turns. That might be a fun way to bring all the units back into the fold instead of just transforming once and then being set. Maybe after like another 3 turns, you do a check. All right, what health is he at? Okay, now he'll absorb Gohan. or he'll absorb Gotenks, something like that. That might be a good way to make this guy more of a variable instead of, he's set in his ways after 5 turns.
Yeah, I mean, the way you fix this now is you just use an active skill. It's that simple. Active skills fix everything.
Yeah, so that's like my suggestion is if he came out today, he would start up a Super Boo, and my suggestion would have been after 5 turns, depending on your HP, when you use that active skill, that's who you transform to. So if you're above 80% HP by 5th, 7th, 9th, 15th turn, you can become Buhan. But if by the 8th turn you're below 49% and you want to use Boo Piccolo, then you transform with an active skill. Like that's how I imagine he would have come out today in this with the active skill transformations. So, but I mean, to your point, Toon, that's a pretty cool concept. It's just that we would need. I mean, I guess Infinite Dragon Ball history and Legendary Goku event is long enough to justify transforming back and forth.
Well, of course, 5 turns plus however many turns afterwards is pretty crazy.
Yeah. So I'm just saying that mechanic's more geared towards the longer events. But yeah, no, I think it's a neat, cool idea nonetheless. Okay, so if I remember, Super Boo was like September of 2018, like September, October. Right around that time, we also got Goku Black, the Int Goku Black. And then, this is where I was really frustrated because I thought like the concept of Super Boo was like, all right, it's really cool. Multiple transformations depending on this. He just wasn't a very good card. And then we had Goku Black, where it was basically the same thing as LR Goku, Gogeta, and Vegeta, where you had to wait till 6 turns, be above a certain HP threshold. I think it's 80%. Yeah, I don't know. It was. I like the card because I like Goku Black. The character, not the card per se. But the transformation sucked. Like I did not like it at all. What are your guys' thoughts on in Goku Black?
Goresh, why don't you go?
I was surprised they went back to that old sort of style of 6 turns. Like, why? Yeah, it makes no sense. It's funny because it's a design choice that was like older than it should have been, but the super attacks were insane. Like they looked really good.
Oh yeah.
So the animation was kind of like it was kind of like they worked on the unit in terms of his kit like a year before that, and then they actually designed the super attacks like a week before he came out or something.
Yeah, because wasn't it Metal Cooler right before Goku Black?
Yeah, Metal Cooler was for Halloween, I think.
Yeah, so that he was the first one where we were like, oh, these super attack animations are looking really good. And then, of course, it continued with Goku Black. But I think the animations were more recent, but the kit was designed much earlier in the cycle. So,
yeah, it makes almost no sense to me. I think they screwed something up with that. I don't know. He was not a mod. Yeah. The day he came out, he was outdated.
Yeah. Well, but at the time, we didn't even have the Legendary Goku event. So, like, stacking defense didn't mean anything.
And by the way, we still to this day do not have a better leader for that category.
Time Travelers, yeah,
it's insane.
Well, I'm imagining Dragon Ball Heroes will rectify that, but
yeah, probably.
The Legendary Goku event drop.
It was 2019.
2019 for JP. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
because I just remember never being able to pull the guy, so my experience with this guy was very limited. Because honestly, I think the first time I ever really tried using him was the Legendary Goku event, just because I think I was so put off by the passive that I said, you know what, I'm not gonna. I don't need to. Like, I'm fine.
He had potentially the worst release on global of any Dokkan Fest exclusive because his banner was the exact same banner as Transforming Vegeta. They didn't change a single unit.
Damn, for real?
Wasn't it back to back too?
Yeah, it was back to back.
Yeah, so literally the exact same banners. It's just different featured unit. That's it.
I was like aghast that the banner was not changed. I was like, what the heck? I did like one summon.
Alrighty. Okay, so now the reason why I mentioned that is because I think they got a lot of backlash for it. Because we were like 6 turns, we gotta wait that long, and gotta be above threshold. 80%, being above 80% is not as easy as people think when you're taking on more difficult events after 6 turns, and you're like, okay, you have the opportunity to transform in 6 turns, but you probably won't see it till like turn 10, or turned 12 at that point, you know? So I think the backlash I got from that, and then this is around the time when Dragon Ball Super Broly movie was just being hyped and marketing and all that push. And Goresh, why don't you tell us about your experience when JP dropped the info for Broly and Gogeta? Weren't you eating dinner
my
or
actual
something?
experience? Yeah, it was like during the holidays or whatever.
It's Christmas, I think. Yeah.
What happened?
I was like, fantastic. It was literally like December 25th or something like that.
Yeah, it's the 25th. I remember.
But yeah, I mean, they have really good transformation conditions. Like Broly's turn 4 and Gogeta's turn 5. Back then, turn 5 just without any other condition was like insane. Because you would easily get that in Super Battle Road back then. So it was pretty good. And I remember everyone was super hyped about it. And the units were very fun to use because they would always transform. And nobody really had a problem with it. And that was before active skills existed. And that was like probably their best, until we started getting units after active skills existed. But that was probably their best transformation, their best designed traditional transformation mechanic units that have had come out before active skills.
Yeah, I agree. Any thoughts on Gogeta and Broly there, Toon?
I just have a question. Maybe I'm just oblivious. Why did they can you guys think of a reason why they made the transformation requirement for Gogeta 1 turn longer than Broly?
Because he's better.
Because he has auto crits and dodges. Is
that it?
I don't know. I guess.
I think it's just because Broly's changes way more drastically than Gogeta. Because Broly was an AoE unit.
Yep, and then he becomes
like a single target monster once he transforms. So it's a different role, and they want you to be able to experience those different roles more often than Gogeta, who just becomes a better version of himself, right?
Okay, all right, yeah, that's kind of what I was looking for. All right, honestly, this was around the time that I started to really get more and more in tune with the behind the scenes in Dokkan. So I was just now starting to be like, okay, I can read up on these units. I know what they do before they actually drop. All right, I'm starting to get the hang of this now. So I don't really have much more to add other than the fact that this was the most hype that I had experienced in Dokkan. And honestly, I think this banner was what really catapulted me into like going on YouTube full time. I mean, I was already doing it full time, but I mean like full front and like full effort because I got really lucky on these banners. So that just made me really, really want to keep going. And these units still to this day, like I get super hyped when I see those transformations. The animations, they just never get old for me, honestly. I still enjoy watching them every single time. I don't ever just kind of go back and like, oh, when is this going to be over? I actually genuinely enjoy seeing the animations each and every time.
Would you say that was a top 3 all-time hype moment in this game when those dropped?
Oh,
no, I'm saying just in general for you too.
It was super hype. Yeah, I would say top 3. I think it's the third hypest, honestly.
Yeah, I would say it barely scrapes in at 3.
What are the top 2? Well, probably Gogeta and Vegeta, right, for you guys?
Those are probably 2, and then 1, like not even, in my opinion, it's not even close. Number 1 is Physical Vegeta Blue and AGL Rose when they were revealed in the news. Yeah, because that was before we had like the data mines and stuff.
Right. It was
they showed the celebration info, and it was just them in the news.
Yep. It was like
me,
right after the anime episodes just aired.
It was literally like the day after Vegeta Blue episode came out.
Yeah.
Isn't that that's actually exactly what I was going to say for Goku and Frieza, the Miracle of Universe 7? Didn't that drop? I don't know exactly when it was because I literally started playing Dokkan as soon as the show ended. So didn't they try to plan that release for the 250 million, like part 3, to coincide with the show? Is that why Goku Frieza was the LR for that final banner?
Yeah,
maybe.
Because that was my most hype. Because I was just coming off of Super. I was so excited because that was such an epic moment. And then that was literally the first LR that I rainbowed without even knowing it. So that it just that transition from the show to Dokkan was just perfect. That's still to this day my most hype moment.
I mean, number 4 for me was when we saw UI Goku, like the very first time against Jiren in like episode 130 or whatever. And then an hour after it aired in the game, UI Goku just dropped as a banner.
That's cool. That's cool.
Like there was no announcements or anything. It was just like UI Goku, but what the hell? And then just that was it. I mean,
that's awesome. I would have been super hyped too.
Yeah.
I think number 4 for me was when Super Vegeta came out on Global, which is the 100 million download celebration. And people, we knew it was coming because he was next in line. But like just seeing that news come up, because that was the same. What's funny is I think that was the same celebration that JP got Vegeta Blue and Goku Black. So it was like super hype for both versions. And obviously back then Super Vegeta was like no one even came close to how good he was. Like he was the best unit of the game for like half a year or something.
The AGL one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
wait, isn't that also the time where they had that like major banner glitch too? Was it on the
no, that was physical. That was physical. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, back then in the 70% meta, like you could take AGLR units and just have Super Vegeta as your friend and your lead and still decimate.
I mean, you would use Ninja Murasaki as your sealing unit.
Sealer.
The R Ninja Murasaki from the World Tournament. Because he was the only AGL sealing unit until Oceanus Shenron Oceanus Shenron came out, and then she was like a little better or something.
Yeah.
But they literally, because he was the best unit in the game until physical Vegeta Blue came out, and they had to make the Tech Merge Zamasu Dokkan event super twice because everyone was just using the Super Vegeta teams forever. Like people wouldn't use other teams.
Yep.
This is totally off topic, but I gotta say that's really freaking cool that back in the day you guys had to resort to using R units. That's really cool.
Yeah, Ninja Murasaki was really good on Super Vegeta's team because he was the only AGL sealer in the game, and then you could just guaranteed not get super with Super Vegeta. There were really no events that were like immune to getting sealed and stuff like that back then.
Yeah, no, they were all, you could put any debuffs on them and they were fine. It wasn't until the 120s, like second year anniversary with Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta, where they started to say you can't stun, you can't debuff. Because if you were free to play, stunning was your way through everything.
General Blue is like the best unit in the game if you're free to play.
Yeah, the SR, right? SR General Blue from World Tournament. Yeah, and then when Arale came out, there was the SSR General Blue. It was just as good. Which I think I'm one of the only ones that haven't rainbowed. I don't think anyone else has that card to begin with. So
I have him, but I don't know how many dupes he has.
I mean that banner's never come back, and I don't think it'll ever come back.
It came back on JP once, and never came back on Global.
Yeah, which means I don't think you guys can. Can you farm it with keys?
Nope.
That's why. So. All right, we got a little off topic, but we're the point of the whole Gogeta and Broly thing was I think that was the best, like you said, Goresh, the best design of waiting for turns, because 4 turns for Broly, no condition, 5 turns for Gogeta, no condition, I think was the best time for this style of transformation mechanic. And then a month later, at least on JP, it was the 4th year anniversary, and that's when we got Super Saiyan 4 Goku and Vegeta. They don't have a transformation mechanic, but they introduced the active skill, which is their remedy of this whole like wait for turn stuff. Even though we still have that to our units now, active skill transformations became a thing. Like you can choose when you want to transform, or if you wanted to at all, which is really interesting. So. Let's jump ahead. Like, we had like the Zamasu, like a perfect blend of the two would be the Trunks and Zamasu, right? Because they start off as base form, and then at least Trunks turn 3 goes Super Saiyan, and then Zamasu goes merges, and then on the 5th turn, if you wanted to, you can choose to activate their active skill to transform them into Rage Trunks and their ultimate forms, and have a different kit. So just in general, what are your thoughts on active skill transformations?
They solve like every problem that the traditional ones had. And I think the best part about active skill transformations, in my opinion, is the fact that now, as opposed to the regular one, is you can have units that transform, and then the pre and post transformed forms can be doing two completely different roles or things. And you can choose whether or not you want to go into the second form or just keep, staying in the first form to do whatever you want to do. And the way that they've sort of like separated those two out most commonly is just have the pre-transformed one stack attack or defense. So you can choose to continue stacking a stat, or you can just go into the more powerful second form. I mean, we see that with Piccolo, we see that with Buhan, so you see that with Tech Trunks as well, right? A lot of units do that now. Active skill is just there to, okay, I'm done stacking. Now I'm going to transform into this more powerful form where I'm not going to be stacking anymore, but I'm just going to be hitting super hard or whatever. Right. And I think that's good. So the old transformation mechanic is still like not obsolete, because that one is fine, but it's only fine if the post-transformed form is basically just a better version of the pre-transformed form. Right. Otherwise, there's no point in having that.
Okay. Tim?
That also I was going to say something else, but him saying that just made me think, if they had a way to, I think you also mentioned this, Goresh, like hold off from transforming further, staying in a particular form for a little while longer, that could add more appeal and more balance to the whole transformation mechanic that happens instantly as opposed to an active skill. Because the active skill is generally considered better, but if you can take some time to kind of boost your stats in one particular form and then re-engage the like auto transform or whatever, that could add more appeal to that. But what I was going to say was, from a team building perspective, what I like about the active skill is that it allows you to have a little bit more flexibility with your team building. So you can basically have two units essentially of the same name, but one is hidden away, locked inside of an active skill for one unit, as opposed to the other one just coming out as the actual unit itself. So, I mean, just building off of what Goresh said, I have nothing else really to add other than the fact that it is a welcome addition, because it doesn't really hinder you. It only helps, and it also enhances your team building potential.
Right. To further compound both your points, one perfect example of this is the Str Cooler, right? Where Str Cooler, he doesn't stack anything pre-transformed, but he's got a different role. He supports his team, which is still, I think, one of the best teams in the game. Transformation Boost and then Temperate Conquerors is fun unto itself, but Transformation Boost is forever going to be relevant, because there's always going to be transforming units. They're going to be in that category. So, he supports them pre-transform, and then post-transformation, he's a hard hitter, auto crits 70% of the game, Saiyans and Hybrid Saiyans. But you could also bring on that team physical Funniform Cooler, because he starts off as just Cooler, right? So, like you said, it really, that kind of goes with the transformation mechanic unto itself. It really expands your team building opportunities, which is a good chunk of the game, right? Is how do you build a good, efficient team to finish an event? And the fun way is to take some wacky builds or whatnot, and transformation mechanic unto itself is going to help you, give you some playful ideas to work around that. So I really enjoy the active skill. I think it gives them, they've shown, like you said, they give you a reason to stay pre-transformed, and they give you an option to go post-transformation if you want to. So they just need to play with the pre-transform and post-transform states more, at least in my opinion, to really give you the diversity of what a card can do and give you a reason to summon for a card. So yeah, for the most part, I mean, I skipped over 300 million because we'll get to it in a second here. But for the most part, this active skill transformations have been pretty good in terms of what the capabilities they have. But let's talk about the 300 million download celebration real quick. LR Gohan and LR Cell.
I like it, man. I like it. I know you guys hate it, but I like it. I like what they did. Because it is very specific. It is in tune with the show. And not every unit has to go berserk, invincible, 100% full potential on an active skill like right away. Like, I liked that it is something, it's like a last resort kind of thing. When you're in a particular situation, a very specific one, you unlock a unit's full maximum power. I like that. It adds more tension to a match. If you're trying to, run Android Cell Saga, you can do so and potentially trigger Gohan's active skill. If you can't, well, you weren't in a desperate enough situation that that is conducive to his build. Yeah, so I like it. It's different. It's not the same. Every single new LR is busted because this reason, this reason, this reason. It fits a very specific situation, and it does it canon to the show, essentially. I liked it.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Would you be in favor of a Super Saiyan Goku who transformed to Super Saiyan God, but you had to have a Vegeta, Trunks, Goten, Videl, and Gohan on your team for it to work?
Yes. Yes, I would.
Okay.
I would. Now, if that was the only God, then I'd have a problem with it. But the fact that we are getting so many units and this game is ever evolving, I would totally be down for one unit to do that. I think that would be really, really cool. Because part of this game is like it's showcasing your love for Dragon Ball. It's bringing all different corners of the universe. You got heroes. You got now Dragon Ball Z Kakarot representation with the Vegito thing, which I didn't even realize apparently that Vegito animation's from Kakarot. So like this is all just this is for the fans, an ode to Dragon Ball. I love that. I would totally be down to have to assemble a team solely around one gimmick like that. I think that would be super cool. As long as it's worth it. If it's trash, we got a problem. But it's got to be worth it. So like if you actually pull it off, they should be good.
Okay. Now, like I understand your point of view, but my interjection is it just makes for terrible game mechanics. That's just my point. Where you're forcing me to have a particular unit unless it, like you said, it has to be worth it. Like he has to like auto crit, double, triple additional supers, something like that to justify the cost. Otherwise, why would I ever summon for that unit? Why would I not just bring the other LR or the other Super Saiyan God Gokus in the game?
I have a counterpoint to that. This game is, it's also a collector game. And so over time, you're amassing more and more units that do different things. And since the game is constantly evolving, constantly changing, in the grand scheme of things, the more different types of units you have, the more variety you have, the more you can do in the future with whatever team you want to build. You have more options to do whatever you want to do. If you just want to reenact an episode, for example, I've done a couple basically skits where I'm like playing with toys, essentially, like when I was a kid, where I'm just like, pew, pew, Goku, no, Goku killed, and then I have Krillin die, and then Goku goes Super Saiyan. Like I do all that dumb stuff. I feel like having things like this just adds so much more fan service, so much more appeal. And in the long run, you're going to have a humongous library of other units that do so many other things, but you'll still have that one very unique unit that does something as specific as this. I still think in the long run, this is fine. Obviously, in the moment when you summon, he's kind of limited, and that is a problem for some people. But not every unit has to totally use everything that they have at their disposal right at the moment you get them. That's how I think.
Counterpoints, Goresh, or you gonna agree with them, or?
Oh, my counterpoint is I just don't have fun using the unit.
Well, there's that.
Well, when Extreme SBR rolls around, you're definitely gonna like Cell, right?
Cell, I don't have a problem with. It's Gohan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I get it. I get it. I'm not trying to say that you guys are wrong. I understand. I'm just saying that I'm okay with them doing very specific things like this because this is not something that they're normally going to do. They're not going to normally have, every future subsequent LR have one specific condition where Krillin has to wear his Black Saiyan armor. You have to fight Frieza. Frieza has to hit him with a whatever. What is it called? Dirty fireworks, whatever he used, whatever it's called. And then you have to lose all your health, and then Goku goes Super Saiyan. Like they're not going to do crazy stuff like that all the time. But once in a while, I feel like this is okay.
My problem with the reason why I don't even have a problem with Cell and I do have a problem with Gohan is because there are so many instances where you have zero chance of even transforming with Gohan. Like you go into the fight and you know that you have a 0% chance of transforming. That just feels bad. I don't think there should ever be a situation where you're forced to run certain units to transform with the unit because then it's not fun to run that unit in those situations. Like you just said in Extreme Speed Battle Road, you can't transform with Gohan. You can't. Like there's zero situations where you can transform with him, right?
Okay.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure there isn't. So I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't feel fun to me to do that. Like the only, like Cell, like I'm not saying Cell has a good condition because he doesn't.
It's less restricted than Gohan though.
it is less restrictive, but the problem with cells is you can't try for it because you'll just die, right? But it's still obtainable in every scenario because it's not based on you fulfilling a condition before you even enter the battle. Every condition that you have in this game should be contained into what you can do in battle, not team building wise. That's the problem with Gohan's transformation conditions.
I understand that. Like I said, I do understand the downside. I do get it. But I just think like this game has the legs to go the distance. It's going to go on for at least a couple more years at the very least, right? So if you are playing this game a lot, you're summoning a lot, the chances of you pulling the units necessary to pull off his active is more and more likely. It kind of, I guess in a sense, incentivizes you to continue playing the game so that you can put the pieces together to potentially use the active skill. So I understand what you're saying. There shouldn't be a situation where you just completely cannot do it in a particular fight. I get that. I'm looking at it from the other angle, but I totally see where you're coming from. Because I used to honestly feel that way, but now that I'm looking back and I have like virtually all these units that I'm looking at in this list of transforming units, it just speaks to the fact that I'm in this game for the long run. It's a collector. I have everything. I want to be able to use different things, especially, right now during Dokkan, we're kind of wondering, all right, what's the next, when's part 2 coming up, right? So people are kind of wondering, all right, what do we do for today's video? Or what do we do now? We've done Super Battle Road a million times. Do we do Super Battle Road with our eyes closed? Do we do Super Battle Road holding our breath? Like there's not, as far as content creation, there's also a, limited amount of things that we can do at this point. So things like that, just, I feel like it helps in the long run, but in the moment it is annoying. But you're right.
Well, I mean, I think that was their first, litmus test of can we make, the transformation mechanic really difficult? Will people like it? And I think they heard us because, that was 300 million downloads last year. Now we have, it would have been 350. I don't think we hit 350, but now they're calling it simultaneous worldwide release. And of course, we got Vegeta, which is Eller Goku and Angel Vegeta, going to Vegeta, Super Vegeta, and then now we have Wu-Tang's going to Buhan. And their transformations are fairly easy to get for the most part. So I think they heard the feedback and they just realized people want to, like, going back to Gohan, I want to play with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. I like Super Saiyan Gohan, but the reason I summoned for him was so I want to play with Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. The fact that I haven't seen him since 300 million download speaks a lot to that.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask, is it even worth it? I literally don't even remember what he does.
I don't use him because I don't have fun using him.
Yeah, I literally don't even remember what he does as Super Saiyan 2. Is it even worth the hassle?
If you want to nuke something, yes. That's the only time it's worth it.
That's all. He's a glorified nuke, but like a really, really OP one, right?
Yeah, really.
Look, I would have been. They were on to something. I'm actually going to pull them up because I just want to make sure I'm getting it correct.
I'm trying to read up on it right now.
But I think they were on to something with this because the way they have it set up is actually not too bad if you think about it. But they would obviously have to tweak it a lot. So they have. This is sort of like a dual condition thing where it's or it's not an and thing. So HP is 50% or less with 16 on the team, and that's immediately, right? Or when HP is 50% or less with an existing Android's category ally from the 5th turn. So they make it harder if you don't fulfill certain conditions. That idea in itself, I think, it actually works. So they could do something like I just said with the Super Saiyan God thing. Like, what if they made it so that Super Saiyan Goku, and if you have all those units in your team, you can transform turn 1. Or if you don't have all those units in your team, you can transform turn 6. That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I'm sure eventually they would do something like that.
Yeah, I think conditions that are super restrictive, but just give you an edge rather than either completely making or breaking the unit's transformation is better. Yeah.
Well, maybe we can get both your dream and Toon's dream of, give it to help everybody to transform Super Saiyan God versus, have 5 Saiyans or a mix of 4 or 5 like hybrid and pure Saiyans on your team. How would you
have Videl on the team? It'd have to be a super class team, right?
That's why it sucks. That's why Gohan sucks, because you need 16. How are you going to fit him on there?
The only way. Oh yeah, I just read the passive for the Super Saiyan 2. You need Goku for that extra oomph too. Forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, because you never you see him.
Yeah, I literally forgot what this guy did. I had to read up. I've never seen this guy use his active skill. I think except for once during Super Battle Royale because I did it on purpose.
That's why everybody was so like baffled when 16 was int.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's a misstep. See, now that's a misstep. That one I completely agree with you. That was a complete misstep. Yeah. I don't know why because that just limits. You can literally only do Superclass or Cell Saga.
Yeah,
that's it.
Cell Saga. Yeah. I think there's one more. I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, yeah. I think that's the low point of transformation mechanics. I would like to say, right? Because it's
and the thing about that too is it's not even the active skill mechanics fault. It's just they artificially just pumped in these like obscene conditions that don't make any sense. So that's their fault.
Yeah. So we're just gonna wrap this up. It's been a while. This has gone pretty long, but I will say, and we'll have one more point to talk about, which is where do you want them to go with the transformation mechanic from here on out? In regards with the future, is there anything you would like to see them change or kind of work around? Your thoughts?
So I'm just going to say the same thing I said earlier. Like, I would want to see those multi-transformation units, but I want every single transformation to be an active skill, and I want every single form to be doing something different. I know that would be very confusing. And it would take a lot of, like, I don't know, I guess brain power to remember what every form does. But this game has been getting more and more complex since day one. So I'd see that as the only next logical step that they can do that.
I mean, if they're going to make us read a novel for a damn passive, I don't think this is too much to ask.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that would be really good. Like, I think I read this somewhere on Reddit months ago, but they were saying, like, what if you brought just a base form Goku, but he has an active skill transformation depending on the team he's on. So if he's on a Super Saiyan team, he goes Super Saiyan, and he has a certain kit. And if you take him on a Super Saiyan 2 team, he goes Super Saiyan 2, he has a specific kit. You know, Super Saiyan 3, Realm of Gods, he can go either God or Blue. Just the concept of multi-transformation active skills, but he kind of made it a little bit easier in the sense of putting it on a specific category team will like funnel all the options to like one or two. I think that's pretty cool. The downside of that is you're basically making like 5 cards and selling it as one card when they could just make 5 cards and sell 5 cards. So for us, as players and dreamers, it's kind of cool. Well, I don't know how realistic that is for them to develop, because the manpower and time they could make one card go into multi-transformations, they could just make 5-6 different cards and just sell them as that. So
I also think the next step as well is to completely eliminate the old transformation mechanic and just make units, give them the ability to use multiple active skills in the same unit. So imagine if the blue fusions, their transformation was an active skill, and then they also had the same ultimate active skill. So they would have 2 active skills. But you could choose whether or not you wanted to stack their attack in base form for more turns or not. That would be cool.
Yeah, that's a good concept.
But, so we are not game developers. So when we're making these suggestions, we're doing it from the creative standpoint, not really the technological or practical standpoint. But basically what I would say is what I said before. When you're transforming for certain units, because there's obviously going to be certain units that when they transform is permanent, you should have the option to revert back. Just because if you're a fan of a particular form, or simply because the unit is built different. If the unit is built different, then you want to use that more than necessarily the other form. You should have the ability to fluctuate between whatever form you want, because like in the show, if Super Saiyan 1 goes to Super Saiyan 2, well, then you can totally go back to Super Saiyan 1. You don't have to stay at Super Saiyan 2. Whereas if Demon King Piccolo wishes for the Dragon Balls to give him eternal youth and he goes young, he can't go back. So, certain restrictions do apply, but I feel like that would be a nice way to add more to the experience of the transformation and give each form a little bit more shine, instead of having each unit, the various stepping stones just be throwaway, builds. And then once you get to the pinnacle, that's all that matters. So I would say being able to revert back is what I would want most.
Alrighty. There's a lot of hope with the transformation mechanic because it also like we said earlier, it really diversifies your team build. There's a lot of things you can do with your team. So hopefully we'll get different naming schemes and transformations and stuff like that, so we can build different teams. Of course, the other mechanic that goes along with that is the exchange mechanic, but that's a whole topic for another round table, smoke table, whatever I'm going to call this. Anything else you guys want to say before we sign off here?
That's pretty much it, man.
I was just going to say, exchange is literally just the active skill transformation.
Yeah. Oh yeah, exchange. We didn't even mention that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but the exchange is also kind of different because at least with the 16, 17, 18, you can go back, right? So
yeah,
we don't have that with the
Okay, so you know what? They've done it. They've done it.
Yeah.
So they have the blueprint to do what I said. You guys hear that? Get it done. If you do, I'll give you a Broly voice impression for free.
Or you can hire the guy and pay him, but I mean that's a whole other thing. But anyways, guys, appreciate you, Goresh and Toon Rami, being here for this discussion. If you guys like the video, hit that like button. If you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button. Greatly appreciate it. And once again, we thank you for listening and taking the time out of your day to listen to us Dokkan YouTubers just ramble on and on about a particular topic. So you guys have a good one. We'll catch y'all next time, all right? We're out.
Peace out, man.